Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, honored guests. Before and after. I feel like much of our lives can be summed up in this way, in befores and afters. We all experience moments and pivotal changes in our lives that really shape the course of things. We are never the same person immediately before an event or an experience as we are after that moment or after we receive a piece of news. And just like everybody here, my befores and afters are unique to me, and they're different than everybody else's. I was born in 1985, the second child born into a very loving family. And as often the case with second children, my baby book had considerably less detail in it than my book. Now, one thing I do remember is that my mother had filled out the popular artist blank. Michael Jackson was written in. And here I stand today, having lived in a world with Michael Jackson, and now after Michael Jackson's death. Now there's plenty of pop culture references that we could talk about. I've lived now before and after the television series Friends, before and after the movie Titanic. I've even lived before and after famous celebrity couples such as Bennifer and Brangelina. I am one of the last generations to remember the 3.5-inch floppy disk and to remember a life without internet in the home. Albeit that was actually for a pretty short period of time in my life. My family got internet in our home when I was in elementary school. And I'm pretty sure that the only thing that you could access on it was AOL. I think we had something silly like an hour's worth of internet access for the entire month. And we would dutifully sit and listen to that terrible dial-up noise, which is the opposite of Canarus. Did you guys know that kids today don't even know what that noise is? But really, our lives are not defined by these trivial things. Our lives are defined by experiences and moments that affect the entire world, and that certainly affect our worlds. Sometimes they are shocking and they are sudden. In September of 2001, I was a sophomore in high school. I was sitting in my AP chemistry class when over the loudspeaker they came on and announced that the Twin Towers had been struck. We didn't have a television in that classroom, so it wasn't until I went on to my next period that I really began to understand the gravity of the event. I don't know if any of us at that time can really have appreciated the effect that it was going to have on our lives. Very soon, our loved ones were going to enter into the longest war in our country's history. 9/11 really changed my view of the world. It changed my view of people, of the misunderstandings and the hatred that they can have for one another. But it also helped me to understand the compassion and the selflessness that people can have for one another. This moment was distinctive, and none of us are the same as we were before 9/11 and now after 9/11. Now these moments can also be positive. 3 years later, I arrived on the campus of Auburn University as a student athlete. I had no idea what the next 4 years were going to hold for me. But as I entered into academics and soccer, I also had opportunities to build memories and friendships that are still strong to this day. It was while I was at Auburn that I reconnected with an old high school friend, a young Patty Ferreter, who is now my husband. It was my 21st birthday, and a friend and I were having a slip and slide party. I knew Patty was stationed at Fort Benning, which is only about a 45-minute drive from Auburn, so I decided to invite him. He and his buddy excitedly drove over to Auburn. They were walking through the house looking for me, carrying a case of beer, when they started to notice that the crowd was quite sober, and there seemed to be copious amounts of chips and soda. And much to Patty's embarrassment, it was a dry party. Now, I won't say that that night sealed the deal for Patty and I, but there was definitely a distinct difference before reuniting with Patty and after reuniting with Patty. And 4 years later, I blessedly became Mrs. Ferreter. Now, there are some moments in our lives that are gradual. My grandfather, Max Lafayette Rabson, recently lost a long battle with dementia. Now, the granddaddy before dementia holds fond memories of fishing in the pond in the summer. He used to take my brother and I out to tend the garden and hunt for arrowheads in the hot Georgia sun. And after dementia took hold of his memory, it was still remarkable to see that he was able to bring smiles and laughter and joy to those who cared for him, even amidst his confusion. Today, I stand here anticipating a moment. In just over 4 months, I will become a mother. And if it's anything like people say, there is a very distinct difference before you and after. So as you see, these moments are distinct, and they are often personal. Befores and afters will never cease. They are the joys and the sorrows of our lives. So today, when you leave, I want you to ask yourself, what are the befores and the afters that have shaped your life? Take time to appreciate the fond and sometimes painful memories, and anticipate the befores and afters to come. Thank you.
I know it has more so to do with my position in the order of evaluations and not so much with necessarily the quality of the evaluation being called the ultimate evaluator. But you know what, I'll take it being called the ultimate evaluator. It's fine by me. So, Lauren, first of all, congratulations, and both on the icebreaker speech and also on on your child that is due in 4 months. First off, a fantastic start to your to the communicator manual with the icebreaker. There was a wonderful introduction where you used some very good references to connect with the audience, both family references and referencing being the middle child, and the whole disparity in the number of baby book references as the kids come in. So that was a very good introduction there, and also the cultural references along the way of dial-up internet, floppy disks, Michael Jackson, and you were also able to step up all of these references in seriousness as well, from these things that we just dealt with day-to-day life to very major events like September 11th, and personal things as well, like your grandfather and dementia. My grandfather as well is fighting dementia, so in that aspect as well, very, very applicable and very relatable with the subject, and it all related to time and moments, and it all tied back to your central theme, which was very important and very well done as well. As far as the delivery goes, it's very natural. You seemed very natural while you were delivering the speech. There was, and all the words were very clearly enunciated. No words were being slurred together. Everything was very, very well distinct. And you're very good already at using pauses. So there's the pause and reset technique where you're able to use the pauses to emphasize the points in your speech and kind of pause, and then use the eye contact as well. So all of these aspects are already pretty well linked together. So being able to speak, pause for emphasis, and then change eye contact as well. So it's both audible, visual, and the hand motions weren't excessive either. They were all pretty well tied with the points that you were making. The only criticism that I would have, and this is very nitpicky especially for the icebreaker speech, is as you get more comfortable from getting away with notes, being able to explore the space and move around, but you didn't seem tied to your notes at all. It seemed like it was very well practiced and very well delivered. The objectives for the icebreaker speech is to begin speaking before an audience, which was successful, and to discover speaking skills that you already have, and skills that need some attention. And you exhibited a very large number of speaking skills that, at the very least in my case, I had to get to speech at 4, 5, and 6 before I was able to practice them. And also, with the central theme of time, there was a very nice balance as well with the introduction and the body of the speech, going into the past, into childhood, and then the end of the speech, looking forward into time. So there's kind of a rhetorical balance in the speech, where in the beginning you're looking back, and at the end you're looking forward, and challenging the audience as well. So it not only was a one-way conversation of you telling us a story, but also it was a challenge to the audience, for the audience to do things after the speech, and it was very good in that way as well. And Patty, I feel for you as well, just from the embarrassed husband standpoint. When my wife comes to these eventually and tells the story of how we met, I will be in your shoes as well. So I had a vision of my future.